6-game road trip today in Cincinnati. First pitch at 4:10. Former Rams linebacker Leonard Floyd signed a 1-year deal with the Buffalo Bills. Floyd had 9 sacks in each of his last 3 seasons with the Rams. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's our anniversary.
Every weekday during the month of June, we're giving away gear from the KBLA.store to say thank you for your support of KBLA Talk 1580 as we celebrate our 2nd anniversary. Each weekday, a different host will be giving away fresh merch to one lucky caller. All you have to do is keep it locked to KBLA Talk 1580 throughout the day, and our host will tell you when to dial in and when. It's our way of showing appreciation to you for helping make KBLA Talk 1580 the most trusted, credible, and reliable source of information for listeners just like you. Here's hoping you'll be one of our lucky winners. But you can always head over to the KBLA.store anytime for the best in KBLA Talk 1580 gear for yourself and great gift ideas. Now, celebrating 2 years of being your go-to, we're KBLA Talk 1580, and we've got your black. It's our anniversary.
I'm Tavis Smiley. This is KBLA Talk 1580. So glad to have you tuned in this hour. And I've been waiting on this. It's been far too long since he and I were together. Acclaimed sax virtuoso Kamasi Washington joins us right now alongside Herbie Hancock. He is the 2023 Hollywood Bowl Jazz Festival co-curator. And he joins us now to talk about his music and the festival taking place June 17th and 18th. I am honored to be in conversation right now with Kamasi Washington. Kamasi, how are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
Man, I'm good, man. If I complained, I've been ingrate. As I said, it's been far too long since you and I were connected. I hate that you couldn't get into the studio today, but it's a blessing to hear your voice. You been well?
I've been good. I've been real good. How about yourself?
Man, I'm good, man. I'm just glad to be in dialogue with you. That piece we're playing is called Garden Path, and Miles told me, as is often the case when we have artists on, they choose some of the stuff they want to play in and out of our breaks. Why did you choose Garden Path to begin our conversation, Kamasi Washington?
I always like to head towards the future. And that's the song. That's the newest song I put out. It's going to be on my next record that's coming out.
Yeah.
Hopefully soon.
Yeah. When you say that you always want to head toward the future musically, and this is maybe an impossible question, but if anybody can handle it, you can. Heading toward the future musically means what for you? And you can take it anywhere you want to take it. What does that mean for you musically?
Musically, it just means being honest with where you are and who you are.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because that is the most current thing that you can be, is who you are today. And so to me, I mean, music is timeless, but its representation is connected to who you are. And so you can either kind of connect it to who you are today, or who you were yesterday, or who someone else was. And so I always kind of try to connect it to who I am today.
Yeah. Let me start with some big and broad questions, and we'll narrow as we move through the hour. So let me start with this. What do you make? So much has been written about it. Obviously, you become a huge international star, courtesy of your gift on that saxophone, and you're being such a great band leader. But what do you make of the journey from Hamilton High School to where you are right now?
It's amazing. I'm definitely very thankful. And I can say I'm in a rare category of people who have, kind of made it beyond what they dreamed for. When I was a kid, I really just dreamed about being able to make good music. That was really my dream. I just really dream about, I literally dreamed about taking solos that were kind of beyond what I was able to do. And then, I got to a certain level, and I felt like I had some music that I wanted to share with the world. And as I became a young adult, 18, 19-year-old kid, I really just wanted to be able to share my music with the world, and to be able to, I'm a second generation musician, so I grew up around my dad and all of his friends, and so many musicians, great musicians that had music that could have really touched people, never got a chance to share that music. And so I just used to always dream about being able to travel the world and play my music, not just play other people's music, but to actually play my music.
Yeah. We'll talk about your music as we move through this hour. But since you mentioned you're being a kid and mentioned your dad, so the story goes that when you were just a kid, about 13, your father left his soprano sax lying on the piano. You, as the story goes, were filled with curiosity about that, and you picked that thing up, and though you had never touched his sax before, the story is that you started playing it. Is that true?
Yeah. I mean, my dad, he grew up in the 70s where, if you were going to be a saxophone player, you kind of really needed to be a doubler.
Yeah.
Meaning that you needed to play saxophone, flute, and clarinet. And of those three, saxophone is kind of considered the easiest. So, he wanted me to focus on clarinet. And so I never played the saxophone before, just because he didn't want me to play it yet. He wanted me to get better on clarinet before he let me play the saxophone. But I was already listening to Wayne Shorter and John Coltrane and Charlie Parker, and so I was hearing the saxophone in my head. He was telling me that it was the same thing as clarinet, but it's not. And so he left his saxophone out one day, and I just grabbed it and I started playing it, and it was like, this is it. This is what I've been trying to do, And it was no turning back from then on.
Can you put into words what that felt like? Like, so you're playing clarinet, you pick up a saxophone for the first time, you start playing it, and you know instantly that this is what I'm supposed to be playing. Can you give me some sense, of the best of your ability, of what it is you were feeling? What was it in that moment that made you know that this was your instrument?
It's almost like you know what your voice sounds like.
Right.
And so imagine all of a sudden waking up one day and you're speaking and you sound like a different person. Mm-hmm. But you know what your voice is supposed to sound like. And then one day, you put a certain tie on and your voice is back. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's like, oh yeah, this is it. This is what I sound like. Yeah. You know what I mean? And this is my voice. This is like my this is how I would express myself. Yeah. And so that was the feeling.
I didn't know how you were going to answer that question, Kamasi, but I love that answer. I didn't know. I said, I'm curious. I'm curious as to what it felt like. I don't know how he's going to answer this because it's an impossible question to put into words sometimes how you feel, but I get it, and I think the audience gets it. I get it. Yeah, it's a perfect analogy, so thank you for that. Let me just ask you, since you mentioned Wayne Shorter, we lost Wayne Shorter not too long ago. Just give me your own tribute to Wayne Shorter.
Oh, Wayne Shorter is a master musician and a angel of a person. He was the first saxophone player. Like that song that I played when I picked the saxophone up that day was a Wayne Shorter song. It was my favorite song when I was a kid. It was called "Sleeping Dancer Sleep On." And Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers was the first jazz band that I was just really like. That was like my idol, and Wayne Shorter was the saxophone player in that band that I really, really connected to. And, throughout my life, he's always been an inspiration from afar, but, every so often he would kind of show up. So like, when I was, probably ninth grade, 10th grade, mm-hmm. He showed up, and I was in a band called, the Motor School Jazz Band at Locke High School. And he came and he played with us, and I was sitting right next to him. And I'll never forget, I was so starstruck. I was just like, I couldn't believe Wayne Shorter was sitting next to me. And all I can think to say was, I turned and looked at him. I said, "You and Lee Morgan were friends, huh? You sound like you guys are friends." And he kind of chuckled and was like, "Yeah, that was my man." Yeah. And my friend Ronald, we were playing at Catalina's Bar and Grill later that month. Mm-hmm. and Ronald Bruner Jr., who was the drummer in the band, he walked up to Wayne and said, "Hey, we playing at Catalina. You should come hear us." And he showed up.
Wow.
He just showed up, and you know, and it was a huge inspiration to us. You know, we couldn't believe it. He showed up and had a whole booth, and you know, I mean, later on, you know, I saw him with his band with Brian Blade and Danilo Perez and those guys and John Patitucci, and that just totally inspired my playing again. You know, it was like they were so free. They were moving in the music in a way that just felt like there were no barriers. And you know, recently I went and saw his opera, and once again I was just totally inspired. So I mean, I love Wayne Shorter, and I wish him well in his next journey, in the next life. And I'm so thankful for him being here and for me to be able to have had the moments that I had with him.
He's an amazing artist, no question about it. And I'm just got goosebumps with you telling that story about the way he supported you and literally just showed up to see you and your bandmates because you asked him to show up. That says a lot about who Wayne Shorter was beyond his prodigious talent and immense gifts. We are playing right now some of the music of Wayne Shorter as we come forward in our conversation with Kamasi Washington and talk more about the Hollywood Bowl Jazz Festival on KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about. Good thing we've got 3 hours. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
Meet Joe A, Joe B, and Joe C.
What's up?
3 everyday Joes perfecting their banking with Chase. Joe A is locking his lost debit card with the Chase mobile app. Joe B is cruising toward his new ride with AutoSave. And Joe C's Chase banker is helping him budget to go back to school. Tools that help protect. Support for what's next. One bank that puts you in control. Visit chase.com/checking. Chase. Make more of what's yours.
Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Messaging and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank, N.A. member FDIC.
King C. Gillette is the modern man's answer to their facial hair. A complete set of precision tools and quality care products fit for your beard style. There's the King C. Gillette Beard Thickener that strengthens the facial hair you already have while increasing the volume of each strand for a noticeably thicker look. And with daily use, it maintains thickness with a lightweight fragrance with the King C. Gillette signature scent. Master your style with King C. Gillette.
Sunday, June 18th, come out to Africa Town in Lamert Park for the Juneteenth Independence Revolution commemoration. The Independence Revolution will be part of a 3-day weekend to celebrate Juneteenth. Join in the national hashtag Wave of Freedom, where Black people across the country will stand in solidarity to demand reparations for Black American descendants of slavery. Hear from the frontline organizations who are fighting for better conditions for Black LA. Bring your dad to be part of the Honor Thy Fathers ceremony, which will acknowledge dozens of Black fathers in the community. See performances from some of LA's top local artists. Shop with a variety of local Black merchants selling food, clothes, art, and more. The Juneteenth Independence Revolution is a free event for the entire family. Sunday, June 18th from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m., come to Africa Town in Lamert Park to celebrate Black Independence Day. The Juneteenth Independence Revolution is brought to you by Africa Town Enterprise, the African Village Vendors Association at Lamert Park, Black Lives Matter LA, Downtown Crenshaw, and Destination Crenshaw.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where everybody is somebody and nobody is a stranger. You belong here.
It's the music of Kamasi Washington, who is the co-curator for this year's Hollywood Bowl Jazz Festival, taking place June 17th and 18th. If you are in LA or lucky enough to get to LA, the lineup is pretty amazing this year. We'll talk about what Kamasi and Herbie Hancock have curated for your ears this year. Before I do that, we were talking moments ago, as you heard, with Kamasi about Wayne Shorter. There are three other persons I want to ask Kamasi about, and we'll talk about the festival. The first person is Snoop. The second person is Raphael Sadiq. And the third person is Kendrick Lamar. Let me tell you why I want to ask Kamasi about each of these persons. Kamasi, in his second year at UCLA, where he went after going to Hamilton High here in Los Angeles, he went on his first national tour with Snoop. So, Kamasi, you're at UCLA. It's your first national tour, and you're doing it with Snoop. Take me back and tell me how about that experience then.
Oh, it was definitely like a big experience, you know, because I hadn't really done a lot of traveling before that. You know, I think I'd been to like Vegas. I was in like LA County. You know what I mean? So. You know, so one, I was like seeing the whole country, and you know, seeing it from the eyes of Snoop Dogg. That's a whole other thing that very few people maybe have. I've seen some sites. I was seeing sites that very few people have seen at that point.
Yeah.
You know, I was just, and it was also a big learning experience for me musically. You know, because you know, at that point in my life, I pretty much, you know, I've been playing jazz, and I've been playing some classical music as well. And I played a few gigs and some other styles of music, but I had never really like played in a hip hop band.
Yeah.
And you know, and so all of a sudden I was thrust into this musical situation with all these really amazing musicians who had a different approach to music. It was like a more they were looking at music. Like I've said this analogy before, they were looking at music like it was through a microscope. So it was like every note had to be exactly the way they were kind of hearing it. All the phrasing had to be exactly. It was like a microcosm, you know. And so all of a sudden, it's like jazz. I was so used to kind of trying to think in this kind of a broad way and trying to find the notes and the rhythms and the music that was out of the reach of man, you know. And then here I was kind of going to this other place where it was like about really coming into the inner workings of the human musical experience. And so it was you know, it was an interesting thing. At the same time, you know, learning how to get through the party.
Yeah. Yeah, through all the smoke. I get you.
Yeah.
Let me just ask you before I move on to Raphael Sadiq, and I'll tell the audience why I want to do that in just a second. When you said a moment ago that you're hanging out with Snoop and other artists who see music differently, their approach to music is different than yours. I assume, based on the prodigious, you know, stuff you've already produced, the brilliant stuff you've already given us, that you get turned on by being in situations where you're, you know, collaborating or appearing with or working with or just around people who see music differently than you. That turns you on, it seems to me.
Yeah, well, that's where growth comes in.
Yeah.
You know, growth comes in the unknown in music. You know, and so for me, it was like, you know, that I grew so much in my phrasing and in my ability to kind of hear another person playing and to be able to hear music at a whole nother level playing with Snoop, you know. And like the whole idea of like being like a record head, you know, like Snoop knew so much. He was like a musicologist, you know. He knew every record and he knew all the songs and all the, you know, and it was like, in that aspect too, I had records and I listened to music.
Yeah.
But I had like, you know, taken the time to really study the records like that, you know. And that was another thing in that circle that
Yeah.
they were doing.
It's funny to hear you. It's funny to hear you refer to Snoop as a musicologist. He is, if you know him, and you do obviously. But you're hanging out with him while you're studying ethnomusicology at UCLA. So that's kind of funny. I mentioned Raphael Sadiq, and I want to ask you. I want to ask you about Raphael. I love Raphael. I haven't seen him in a while. He's on the bill at the Bowl for the Jazz Festival this year that you and Herbie Hancock have curated. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But Raphael Sadiq, I haven't seen in so long, but he's on the bill again for the Jazz Festival this year. So Snoop is your first national tour, and then you go on your first international tour with R&B legend Raphael Sadiq. Tell me about that part.
Yeah, that was I mean, it was a big shift culturally. Just the way Snoop ran his band and the way Raphael ran his was different. But it was once again, it was a learning experience for him because Raphael is such a brilliant musician,
Yes.
you know, and he was never like the thing with playing with Raphael was that like you never know when he was going to change the music,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And I've kind of kept that. I caught that bug with Raphael and never let it go. You know, that's part of the reason why I always kind of keep my music kind of like the possibilities are always open. Because you never knew when Raphael was going to add an intro or an outro or or a transition from one song to another, and he would just say it in you know, backstage right before we got to go on and play, and you know, he was the first person I was playing saxophone and keys with, and he was the first time I went to Europe, and just style and just another really like great musical like just kind of guru. Yeah, I was working with Raphael Sadiq.
No, he's a bad boy. Speaking of bad boys, Kendrick Lamar, you worked with Kendrick on his acclaimed 2015 project, To Pimp a Butterfly. There are always these debates about the GOAT, and there are many people who already have Kendrick as the GOAT, even at this point in his career. But talk to me about the experience of working on what became pretty quickly an iconic piece of work, To Pimp a Butterfly.
Yeah, I mean he's on my list too.
Yeah.
You know, when Terrace Martin called me to come work on that record, and I was already a huge fan of Kendrick's from years before. Back in the early 2000s, Terrace was telling us about this young guy, Kendrick Lamar. He called him the John Coltrane of rap. And he used to tell us like this dude is going to change rap, and it's before anybody knew about him. He was telling us, and then, you know, when Good Kid, Mad City came out, you know, I was like, yeah, he was right. And so when he called me to come work on To Pimp a Butterfly, you know, I was expecting to kind of do something that they were going to, you know, usually when it ain't broke, you don't fix it, you know what I mean? And so I came in kind of expecting something kind of in that vein, you know. And then I got there and I heard, I mean, they were already, you know, 70% done with the record. They were very far along on it when they came in, and I was just blown away because it was a whole new sound, and it was one of the most amazing things I ever heard. I didn't really know what they wanted me to do. I was like, what do you want me to add to this? Because, you know, Terrace had put so much amazing saxophone work on it and stuff like that. And so when he told me, you know, they wanted me to do, because a few weeks before that, I was working on Terrace's record, and I had just finished the Epic. It hadn't come out yet, but we finished it, and so I was letting them hear the Epic, and the Epic had all those strings and stuff. And so Terrace asked me who did the strings, and I told him I did the strings. And so when I came in to do To Pimp a Butterfly, you know, that's what they asked me to do. They asked me to do some orchestral arrangements. I ended up playing a little saxophone on a few songs too, but so we just went through each song.
Yeah.
And originally I was only supposed to play on Mortal Man, but for him to feel like I understood what Mortal Man was about, he wanted to play the whole record for me, and so he played the whole record down, what they had of the record at that point. And as he was playing it, he ended up saying, "Oh, well, put some on this song too, and this song, and on that one too." And the amazing thing was, you know, they were obviously, because it's such a high profile record, they were very secretive about the record, so I had to do all my work there. Like, you know, normally I would take the record home and write at home, but instead I was writing there, and Kendrick would literally just sit there on the couch while I was, you know, writing out these strings, arrangements and stuff. And it was really cool because it was so open. You know, he had all these great musicians, and we had all played on a lot of records before. And normally, like, he used to always laugh because you had to sneak the cool stuff onto the records.
Yeah.
You know, because everyone wants to kind of like simplify you and keep you kind of in this little small box. So you'd have to like trick him and let you put something cool on the rest of the music.
I love how you said that.
But
Sneak. I love that. Sneak the cool stuff on the record. You got to sneak it on the record. That's funny.
But Kendrick was actually the opposite. He was like, give me more, put everything in there, you know, make it, you know. So I was over there writing some real, dense kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it was just great to have to work with an artist of his level who could understand that and then could take it and create something even more beautiful with it. You know, so it was a beautiful experience for me.
I've got 2 minutes before news, traffic, and sports. Let me do this right quick in these 2 minutes. On the other side, we'll talk expressly and specifically about the Hollywood Bowl Jazz Festival and what you can expect from the mind of Kamasi Washington and his co-curator, Herbie Hancock. Before I do that, though, let me ask you right quick. I love strings, Kamasi. I love strings, always have, and obviously you're pretty good at it. What is it about strings that you love so much and the way you approach it?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been a fan of large ensembles. When I was a kid, Gerald Wilson was my favorite composer, and in that I got exposed to people like Stravinsky and Ravel, and the orchestra. It's like it adds this layer of just. It's like butter. It's like a layer of butter that you can just put and mix into anything, But butter makes everything better.
Oh yeah.
And so for me, when I was making the epic in particular, I had been listening to this Stravinsky piece called Symphony of Songs, and I remember just thinking like, "Ooh man, I can only imagine if somehow John Coltrane just met Stravinsky and somehow convinced him to let him just play over this. It would be so amazing." And I thought like, oh man, what if I did that in reverse though? What if instead of like kind of, because sometimes when you're improvising over set music, it kind of limits you, So my idea was just to make some music that was limitless first, where we can go anywhere and do anything, and then create a set piece on top of that.
I love the way your mind works, and I love that word limitless. As you were talking about strings, speaking of limitless, my mind went to the Love Unlimited Orchestra. I'm a huge Barry White fan. That Love Unlimited thing is on a whole nother level and nothing more fun. If you've never seen it, you should just Google Barry White and watch him as conductor of the Love Unlimited Orchestra. Just watching him is a treat unto itself, say nothing of the music. But like Kamasi Washington, I love strings. When we come forward after news, traffic, and sports, we'll talk about the Hollywood Bowl Jazz Festival, June 17 and 18, and tell you a bit more about what Kamasi and Herbie Hancock have curated for you this year on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is an intervention. When we come forward, includes you. KBLA Talk 1580, turning pain into power.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. The mother of a 6-year-old boy who shot his teacher in Virginia is facing federal charges. African-American Deja Taylor is charged with being an unlawful user of a controlled substance in possession of a firearm and making a false statement during the purchase of a firearm. Court documents allege she claimed to not being an unlawful user of any illegal drug when purchasing a handgun last year, even though she was a marijuana user. The National Transportation Safety Board says recovery of the plane that crashed in Virginia Sunday and killed 4 people begins today. Officials spent all day Monday at the remote crash site near Montebello, Virginia, assessing the wreckage. A senior NTSB investigator described it as destroyed, noting that what remained was not even recognizable as an aircraft. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network, and BINnews.com.
Heavy traffic in the Sepulveda Pass around an earlier wreck on the 405 South at Getty Center Drive. That is clear to the right shoulder, but traffic's jammed up out of the valley from Victory Boulevard. In Hawthorne, working on a wreck on the 405 South at Rosecrans Avenue. That's now on the off-ramp. And a work zone in Downey causing delays on the 5 southbound drive, 605 to Norwalk Boulevard. The slowing starts back at Garfield Avenue.
Get ready as the Los Angeles Dodgers take on their rivals to the south, the San Diego Padres, in an action-packed series beginning Friday, May 12th to Sunday, May 14th at Dodger Stadium. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/tickets.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Miami Heat are at home for the next 2 games in the NBA Finals, but they're getting no respect from the odds makers in Vegas. Despite losing Game 2, the Denver Nuggets are 2.5-point favorites in Game 3 Wednesday night. The Nuggets had won 7 straight playoff games before Sunday's loss. Apparently, the odds makers believe the Nuggets still have the upper hand in the finals. The series is tied at 1-1. After losing 2 or 3 to the Yankees over the weekend, the Dodgers no longer have sole possession of first place in the NL West. They fell into a tie for first with Arizona. The Dodgers begin a 6-game road trip today in Cincinnati. First pitch at 4:10. Former Rams linebacker Leonard Floyd signed a 1-year deal with the Buffalo Bills. Floyd had 9 sacks in each of his last 3 seasons with the Rams. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Everybody in the house make some noise!
Is there a better day of the year to celebrate the anniversary of the only unapologetically progressive talk station west of the Mississippi, focused on issues that impact the black community?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
We think not. A station that amplifies black voices like yours with hosts and guests who look and sound like you. Celebrating our 2nd anniversary on Juneteenth. We're KBLA Talk 1580. And you ain't seen nothing yet. This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
The pandemic may be over, but many Angelinos could be at risk of losing the place they call home. It's important to know your rights as a residential renter in the city of LA. Did you know eviction protection still exists for unpaid COVID-19 rental debt that was due before March 31st, 2023? And that you have 5 days to respond to an eviction notice, also known as an unlawful detainer. Learn more about your rental rights at housing.lacity.org. Be informed, be protected, be at home. Hey LA, keep your utility bills low this summer while making your home the cool place to be. LADWP can help you save hundreds with air conditioner and thermostat rebates, plus free energy efficient home upgrades and simple tips to help you beat the heat and save money. Visit ladwp.com/cool-LA.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Maisha Cairo here for KBLA Talk 1580. We're live in Los Angeles at JP Morgan Chase's Advancing Black Wealth Tour. And I'm speaking to some of the attendees today to see why it was so important for them to be here.
Yeah, this is Lathan and Tyler. Main reason that's very important for me to be here is just to leave a legacy for my kids. Black wealth, generational wealth is what we need in our community, you know. Oh, Chase, someone has to take the lead. They're showing, big business like Chase cares, and they're putting their money where their mouth is at. So it's good to see, big institution like Chase, giving a lifting hand, to the community, and you got to respect that. It makes me want to bank with Chase, and give them another look. If I go to another institution, I actually see what Chase is doing for the community.
That's right, Chase is doing their part to help advance Black wealth. For more money support, tune in every day from 12 to 2 to KBLA Talk 1580's Midday Money Chain, right here.
At Grainger, we're for the ones who pay attention to every little detail. The ones who fuss, tinker, and sweat the small stuff. Because you know the tiniest thing can make the biggest difference when it comes to keeping business moving. We get it. We're the same way, offering access to product experts to help you quickly and easily find what you need. So whatever your industry, you know you're always getting professional-grade products. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Heart failure, carpal tunnel syndrome, shortness of breath, stomach issues, lower back pain. How does it all add up? If you have heart failure and any of those seemingly unrelated symptoms sound familiar, it's time to talk with your cardiologist and get the full picture. They may add up to transthyretin amyloid cardiomyopathy. ATTR-CM is a rare and underdiagnosed disease. Recognize the signs and discuss them with your doctor soon. Learn more at connectwithyourheart.com. That's connectwithyourheart.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Broadcasting live from Leimert Park, USA. Welcome back to your home for unapologetically progressive radio. KBLA Talk 1580.
The smooth song stylings of Kamasi Washington on KBLA Talk 1580. That's my jazz voice. Kamasi's our guest in this hour, at least for another 10 minutes. He's got to get back to work preparing for the Jazz Festival that he's curating with Herbie Hancock June 17 and 18 at the Hollywood Bowl. I love this track, Kamasi, Sun-Kissed Child. Say a word about it, will you?
Yeah, it's a song I recently became a father, and so it's a song I wrote for my daughter.
Yeah.
And it was just a moment that when I saw her, I just saw this glimpse of hope in a way. Like, okay, I get a chance to kind of give everything that I've learned to someone in the hopes that they are able to create a world that's even better than the one that I lived in.
Yeah, that's the hope, man. That's the hope for our baby. So, no, it's a beautiful, beautiful track, and I'm glad we could get some of it on while we had you on our program. So let me go straight away to the Hollywood Bowl Jazz Festival, again, June 17 and 18 in the 6 minutes I have left with you. It must be a great honor to be asked to curate the Jazz Festival lineup alongside Herbie Hancock. Just tell me about the experience, Kamasi.
Yeah, it was an amazing experience. I mean, when I got the call, it was like another one of those kind of like surreal moments where you go like, wow, I mean, I always feel like that anytime I talk to Herbie Hancock, I feel the need to say, hey, Mr. Hancock, you may not remember me, but just because I just can't wrap my mind around it, I know Herbie Hancock like that, And so, when we were kind of going through the different artists and different ideas, it was just great for me to be able to kind of just add whatever little insights that I had, and so, I'm super excited for the lineup that we kind of finally came up with. And as we had a lot of names that were thrown out there, obviously, and ultimately, there's only so many hours in a day, so we had to kind of like boil it down to what it is. But it was a really fun process, and to be able to, it's like it's almost like preparing a 7-course meal,
Yeah.
where you get to kind of like think of, well, this music will then lead people to this, and when you know what I mean. So it was kind of a different way of thinking about music.
I would call it eclectic. That's just one word for it. How would you describe what you and Herbie have put together in terms of the artists who are on the bill this year?
Yeah, I mean, eclectic is a good word. It's an experience to me. I mean, it's an experience that kind of crosses a lot of different lines, and it's indicative of the world of music today, which is a world where so many different styles and so many different types of music live alongside each other. You know, which is different than it used to be. It used to be like musics were segregated. You know what I mean? You even had to wear separate clothes if you were into certain types of music. And so now it's with the way people consume music. They consume it the same way. They're here, and then they're there, and then they go there, and then they go there. And I enjoy listening to music in that way. And so it was almost like, taking a moment of like, how I like to do at the house when I'm just listening to music and kind of bringing it in a live setting, to one of the biggest and most prestigious, stages in the world.
Yeah. I'm excited to see you obviously on stage, but then there's Raphael Sadiq and Leon Bridges. I mean, it's a pretty good rundown this year. Who are some of the folk you hope at least people will be excited to see?
Oh yeah, like you said, yeah, Leon Bridges, Raphael Sadiq, Belle Biv DeVoe, Samara, and Lionel Leckley, and the Praise Connection. That was a cool one that if you're from LA, you kind of know about that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean the West Coast Get Down. That's kind of the group that I grew up with.
Sure.
And
how do you?
I mean, I'm kind of excited for all of it.
No,
I
it's
mentioned everybody almost.
No, it's gonna be an amazing rundown. Let me ask you this before I lose you. I've got about 2 minutes to go, and you got to get back to work. When people hear or when they see that this is the Hollywood Bowl Jazz Festival, and they see Belle Biv DeVoe and others on the rundown. Explain how that all works, because some folks see that as a disconnect. They said it was a jazz festival. Again, some folks see it as a disconnect. How do you see it?
I see it as a connect instead of a disconnect.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, in particular with African American music, is we create all these genres that kind of split everything up. But the reality is that all these musics are very related to one another.
Mm-hmm.
And they're connected, and there's I don't see a huge benefit to them being disconnected.
Mm-hmm.
I look at them as being like, and so to have the moment, to have the music kind of feel like we're all family is a beautiful thing, And I think that when people go and they experience and they absorb the music in its whole and the festival in its whole lineup, they'll get that same feeling. Yeah. They'll get that feeling of like, it's like a steak is beautiful, but it's also great to have a little, salad and some, dessert and maybe a little risotto.
There you go.
And it's, if it's that kind of 7-course meal, and it's like, I feel like, I always said like, like someone like James Brown could have easily been called jazz.
Oh, yeah.
And if he had been called jazz, would there even be a word of hip hop? Or would we just call hip hop the new version of jazz, So it's, to me, it's going to be, I know it's going to be a beautiful day. And I know that people that, if they give it a chance, they're going to have a beautiful time.
I'm sure they will. It's hard to argue with anything curated by Kamasi Washington and Herbie Hancock. And they did it together. The Hollywood Bowl Jazz Festival will be a 2-day celebration, as it always is, June 17th and 18th at the Hollywood Bowl. Kamasi Washington, man, always a great time hanging out with you and talking to you. I'll have to see you soon. Actually, I'll see you at the bowl. But thanks for coming on, man, and have a great show. I appreciate you and love you, brother.
All right, same here. Thank you for having me.
All right,
love you too.
Stay strong, man. When we come forward, a few comments about the announcement yesterday from Dr. Cornel West that he's running for president on the People's Party ticket. We'll talk about that. We'll play some sound for you from Dr. West if you haven't heard him express why he's running, and then we'll tee up our conversation with him Thursday morning at 9 a.m. Cornel West live in studio here on KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to Tavis Smiley, recipient of the prestigious Freedom of Speech Award at Talkers 2023. More of Tavis when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, a.k.a. the Voice of Reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the Voice of Reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Have you faced discrimination in Los Angeles? The City of LA Civil Rights Department can help. They investigate private sector discrimination in LA City in commerce, education, employment, and housing. If you're facing discrimination, submit a complaint online for free at laisforeveryone.com. That's laisforeveryone.com or call 213-978-1845.
The Los Angeles Public Library proudly presents the June Jubilee inaugural event commemorating Juneteenth. Join us on June 10th from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Central Library as we celebrate the rich Black culture in our city. This free event will include a special opening celebration featuring African drums procession and a libation ceremony at 9 a.m. along with speakers, workshops, live entertainment, and more for the whole family. Parking is only $1 with a validation. Learn more at lapl.org/Jubilee. That is lapl.org/JUBILEE.
If you're a business owner or lead a nonprofit that's between 26 and 49 employees, please listen. Lendistry is proud to announce a new program whereby small businesses and nonprofits may qualify for reimbursement of COVID sick leave expenses incurred in 2021 or 2022. This program is administered by the California Office of the Small Business Advocate. Eligibility criteria apply and funding is limited. For more information, visit COVIDPaidSick.com. If you're a business owner or lead a nonprofit that has between 26 and 49 employees, please listen. Lendistry is proud to announce a new program whereby small businesses and nonprofits may qualify for reimbursement of COVID sick leave expenses incurred in 2021 or 2022. This program is administered by the California Office of the Small Business Advocate. For more information, visit COVIDPaidSick.com.
Interrogating your assumptions and expanding your inventory of ideas. Let's get back to Tavis Smiley on KBLA Talk 1580.
You likely heard yesterday, Dr. Cornel West announced publicly that he is running for president of these United States on the People's Party ticket. You probably heard about it. You might not have heard what he had to say about it. So he's, again, our guest live in studio Thursday morning at 9 a.m. But in case you did not hear what he had to say when he made the announcement he was running, take a listen.
In these bleak times, I have decided to run for truth and justice, which takes the form of running for president of the United States as a candidate for the People's Party. I enter into quest for truth. I enter into quest for justice. And the presidency is just one vehicle to pursue that truth and justice, what I've been trying to do all of my life. I come from a tradition where I care about you. I care about the quality of your life. I care about whether you have access to a job with a living wage, decent housing, women having control over their bodies, health care for all, de-escalating the destruction of the planet, the destruction of American democracy. Democracy creates disruption. It creates an eruption. It creates an interruption. Wide from below, the energies of everyday people is manifest. And I know there are precious people in your life who you care for. That's why it's important for you to be involved, important for you to participate. We're not talking about hating anybody. We're talking about loving. We're talking about affirming. We're talking about empowering those who have been pushed to the margins, because neither political party wants to tell the truth about Wall Street, about Ukraine, about the Pentagon, about big tech.
Neo-fascists like Brother Trump or milquetoast neoliberals like Brother Biden. Wow, well, I'm so happy to make a world-shaking decision. You know what I mean?
Well, I know gangsters when I see them. And gangster's not a subjective expression. It's an objective condition. Do we have what it takes? We shall see. But some of us are going to go down fighting, go down swinging with style and a smile, accenting the best in you and trying to tease out the best in me. Let's do it together.
And that was the announcement yesterday from Dr. Cornel West. He's running for president of these United States. I've been a friend of his for better than 30 years. Know him better than most. When we come forward, a few thoughts that I'll share with you about why I think he's running. And again, Thursday morning, 9 a.m., you will see him live in studio on this program. Those thoughts when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
A safe place to go loud. A great place for progressive politics. KBLA Talk 1580.
Hi, it's Dominique DePrima from KBLA Talk 1580. It's going down on Juneteenth weekend, Saturday, June 17th at 11 a.m. for the Ribbon Cutting and Street Festival for the New Orleans Corridor in Los Angeles. You know it. It's about time this important part of our story, our culture, was recognized by LA. Join Mayor Karen Bass, New Orleans Mayor LaToya Cantrell, Councilwoman Heather Hutt, and Grammy Award-winning musicians Irvin Mayfield, Terrace Martin, and 1,500 or Nothing for an amazing celebration. Go to NOLA2LAtickets.org to claim your free ticket. That's NOLA2LAtickets.org. I'll be your MC, and I will see you there. Saturday, June 17th at 11 a.m. It's the New Orleans Corridor in LA for Juneteenth 2023.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SavedByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking, now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SavedByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SavedByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
Some people won't give you the real talk on drugs, but it's time we know the facts. Fentanyl is killing people. It's a powerful opioid, often made illegally and commonly mixed with illicit drugs. It can even be pressed into counterfeit pills that resemble prescription medications. Just 2 milligrams, about the size of a few grains of sand, could potentially be lethal. This isn't an ad to scare you, but it is an ad to make you think twice. Get the facts. Go to realdealonfentanyl.com. This message is brought to you by the Ad Council.
At Charmin, we heard you shouldn't talk about going to the bathroom in public, so we decided to sing about it.
Roll Charmin ultra strong when you drop in the beat. It cleans with way less effort on your seat. Yeah, roll it, drop it. Yeah, roll it, drop it. Charmin flows extra strong from the road. Your butt hella clean while you're sitting on the bowl. Yeah, it's all you need for that bathroom groove. Get you in and out without nothing to prove.
Charmin Ultra Strong cleans better so you can use less. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
The party of the summer is back. The Hollywood Bowl Jazz Festival returns on June 17th and 18th with an incredible lineup curated by Kamasi Washington and Herbie Hancock. See Kamasi himself, Belle Biv DeVoe, West Coast Get Down with Raphael Sadiq and Leon Bridges, St. Paul and the Broken Bones, Samara Joy, Diggable Planets, Poncho Sanchez, Aziza, The Soul Rebels with Big Frida, and many more. Hosted by Arsenio Hall. Get your tickets now at HollywoodBowl.com. Hollywood Bowl, forever summer.
Follow the leader. KBLA Talk 1580. Follow the leader.
If you're not following KBLA Talk 1580 on all of our socials, then you're missing out. Download our app and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on the web at KBLA 1580.
That's right.
Again, you can find all of our socials at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
By the way, if you miss any of our weekday shows in real time, you can always catch up by checking out the podcast of your favorite shows at your leisure. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Follow the leader.
Following the leader.
Oh my God. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
Let's unpack a little bit more with Tavis Smiley. The conversation continues right now.
Just a few minutes left in today's program, and I thank you for tuning in for all 3 hours. Hope you enjoyed it. To my friend Dr. Cornel West announcing yesterday he's seeking the presidency of these United States on the People's Party ticket. I was somewhat surprised. I must confess I was not consulted about this decision. I talked to a few other Cornel West friends, long-standing, and they were not consulted. So it seems that the good doctor kept this decision pretty tight to just a few people. I'm going to ask him when I see him on Thursday why he didn't consult me. I'm sure that'll be funny. But he kept this decision to himself. I did speak to Dr. West yesterday. We talked on the phone for a little while yesterday about his decision to run. And here's what I can tell you, beyond what you've already heard him say about why he's running. I believe that Cornel West wants to push Joe Biden more to the left. There is no Bernie running this time around. AOC is not running this time around. And so there's nobody on the left who's really progressive, a true progressive, pushing Joe Biden out of the middle and more to the left. A lot of symbolism, appointing all the right black folk, black faces in high places. I can hear Dr. West saying that. But substantively, Joe Biden has not been as progressive as many of us would want him to be. I know Cornel West, and I know he's going to push Joe Biden to be more progressive on the one hand. On the other hand, I've heard Cornel West say many, many times to me, Brother Tavis, you'd sooner find me in the crack house than you would in the White House. And he says that jokingly, but there's a point behind it, that in the crack house, at least what you see is what you get. These folk are real, and they are struggling with real issues. You can't really tell the truth in the White House. That's why Dr. King never wanted and never did run for office, even though many asked him to, because you can't tell a certain kind of truth in the White House. How and why Cornel West thinks he can tell the kind of uncomfortable truths that he tells now as a public citizen, as president of the United States, I'm not sure I understand that. I'll ask him about it when he comes here on a Thursday morning. But you heard him call Joe Biden milquetoast. And if that doesn't tell you what he thinks of Joe Biden, then nothing will. But again, I think he's going to push Joe Biden from the left to be a bit more progressive. That ain't always the worst thing, to push these persons to be more progressive about the policies that they are enacting. And so, Thursday morning, you hear for yourself the entire first hour, 9 a.m. Cornel West, our guest here, live in studio at KBLA Talk 1580. That's our show for today. Time to make room now for the KBLA Midday Money Chain. Up next, the Millionaires Roundtable with Lynn Richardson, to be followed by Ahead of the Crypto Curve with Naja Roberts. Old money, new money. Either way, we've got you covered. We close with the sounds of Dizzy Gillespie, who we celebrate today as part of June being Black Music Month. And until tomorrow morning, thanks for tuning in. And as always, keep the faith.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. There is a settlement in the civil rape lawsuit against African-American actor Cuba Gooding Jr. The settlement came this morning just as a trial was about to begin in Manhattan federal court. 55-year-old Gooding Jr. was charged with sexually assaulting a woman 10 years ago in a Greenwich Village hotel room. He has maintained that encounter was consensual. Her attorney declined comment. New York City African-American Mayor Eric Adams is proposing a plan to start paying residents to house migrants in their homes. Now, this comes as the city continues to battle a rise in migrants coming to the Big Apple. Adams floated the idea Monday while announcing an agreement with some 50 houses of worship that will start housing adult male migrants. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Get ready as the Los Angeles Dodgers take on their rivals to the south, the San Diego Padres, in an action-packed series beginning Friday, May 12th to Sunday, May 14th at Dodger Stadium. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/tickets.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
There are folks in Denver who have extra appreciation today for Rams owner Stan Kroenke. Kroenke is the Nuggets' majority owner. He bought the Nuggets in 1999 for $450 million. A key part of the purchase was Kroenke agreeing not to move the team.